So here we are with the third part of my 6-part series on my method of servicing a Venus 175 chronograph movement. And the movement has just been cleaned through the machine, and if you remember, I cleaned the watch with the balance in place. So first of all, I need to remove the balance. And my next job is to reassemble the mainspring barrel. I'm using D5 oil to lubricate the top and bottom bearings of the barrel arbor. And now to assemble the train wheels into the movement, we start with the fourth wheel. And now the escape wheel can be fitted. This is the third wheel. And here we have the center wheel. I've made sure that the wheels are sitting flat, and then I can start replacing, well, in this case, the escape wheel and the fourth wheel cock. Now, before screwing down the cock, I need to make sure that the wheels are seated in the jewel holes. And before replacing the bridge, we need to refit the setting lever screw. And so I'm going to oil it with a little bit of D5. On both the top and the bottom shoulder. And now the barrel bridge can be refitted. In this case, as you can see, the barrel bridge also covers the center wheel and the third wheel. So care must be taken to make sure that the third wheel in particular is seated correctly in the in its jewel hole. And before screwing the barrel bridge down, it is advisable to check the free running of the train of wheels. Now I'm happy with that. I can screw the barrel bridge into place. Whilst I'm screwing the barrel bridge into place, I like to keep checking that the train wheels are not snagging and that they turn freely. Now, if they suddenly jam up, I know that there's a problem and I can rectify that. Now that I know everything is spinning freely, I'm finally tightening up the screws as far as they'll go. And one final check. Now to replace the cram wheel and the cram wheel core, first of all I'm placing a little drop of D5, and this is for underneath the cram wheel. Now we carefully slide the cram wheel underneath the minute recording jumper spring, being careful not to bend the spring, applying a little bit of D5 to the inner rim of the cram wheel, and again being very careful, I'm sliding the cram wheel core underneath the spring, lining up the holes ready for screwing the cram wheel core into place. The cram wheel core, as you can see, is held in by 2 screws, and it can be a little fiddly keeping the cram wheel core lined up, so using a bit of pegwood in order to keep it steady is quite useful. Notice that I didn't fully screw down the first screw. That's because I like a little bit of movement before screwing down the second screw. And once the second screw is tightened, I can now completely tighten the first screw. And now I'll check the free running of the cram wheel just to make sure. And that all seems okay to me. I'm now removing the clicks so that I can make sure it's lubricated and make sure there's no debris that's been trapped between the barrel bridge and the click. So I'm placing a drop of grease on the click spring on the tip of it, where it will be acting against the click, and a bit of D5 on the bearing for the click. Now I'm happy that this is lubricated. I can reassemble it. And we'll just test the operation. All seems fine. Now I'm lubricating the barrel bearing with some D5. And I'm replacing the ratchet wheel. Okay, now to oil the train wheel bearings, and I'm using D5 on the center wheel. And for the other train wheels, the third wheel, the fourth wheel and the escape wheel, I'm using 90-10. And when oiling the bearings, we don't want to flood the oil cups with oil. It just needs a little tiny bit. Too much oil will generally create too much friction or drag and can affect the timekeeping. So thank you for watching the third part in this series. We will continue this in part 4, but in the meantime, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.